Commercial is fun to me because it seems like more of a puzzle, right? Residential real estate is largely the same thing in every case. Commercial real estate, there's a lot of different avenues, I think, in it.
You found commercial real estate.
I did.
When was that?
Around the same time as I was starting to get heavier into the RV research and stuff, I started looking at hotels and stuff with a couple buddies. They were kind of hot at the time. I was working a deal in town in Fredericksburg. It was a B&B property that had event space and it had a restaurant. I had a contract offer out to them, and I had a partner that was going to come on board to bring some equity cash, and he also ran a private equity firm in town that had a hospitality arm.
Awesome.
And so they were going to run the restaurant. That deal ended up falling through, but that was the owner of the Riffian Group. So that's how I ended up getting into the private equity firm that I could sell for now. With that, he primarily wanted commercial real estate so we could put our restaurants into and that kind of stuff. That really sparked my deeper dive into the commercial side of stuff.
Do you know what year that was? Because COVID took a hard hit.
Yeah, that had to have been 2020, I think.
Because if you're looking at hotels and saying hotels are looking good right now,
yeah,
that was probably just before COVID.
Yeah, not the big hotels. Yeah, like the boutique hotels.
Got it.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Which COVID was kind of fueling those because they were smaller number of rooms and that kind of stuff.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you prefer now the commercial side? Are you more intrigued by that and you want to run with that? I mean, I'm sure you'll still do some other stuff, but what do you think, commercial versus residential? Why are you pulled towards commercial?
Commercial is fun to me because it seems like more of a puzzle, right? Residential real estate is largely the same thing in every case. Commercial real estate, just with the different zonings that you have and the different industries that are out there that could use those, and the path of progress stuff. It's just, there's a lot of different avenues, I think, in it, because it's still people, not all the time, but there's not as much emotion that goes into it. So not that I don't have emotions or anything,
right.
But it's just, we don't have to worry about trying to find someone a hotel room for
right.
a week
right.
while we renovate their property. It's more of a puzzle, I think. I think that's what intrigues me about the most.
I always refer to commercial versus residential as commercial is more of a professional relationship.
Yeah.
You know, between tenants and landlords, et cetera.
Yeah.
There is a lot less emotion there, and I have plenty of emotions, but I don't want emotions in deals, right? Like, or in business by any means. Like, it needs to be, is it a good deal, bad deal?
Right.
You know, what's good for both parties, and it's just straight up about the numbers and about the goals and strategies of those people.
Yeah.
Whereas on the residential side, it's half of that, but then also a bunch of emotions. And what are we doing with this person? You know, they have a family, they need some place to stay.
Yeah.
We need to take care of those people, et cetera.
Or if it's 5 siblings fighting over the parents' property that just passed away. Like,
right.
Yeah.
And then you're in the middle of it, like trying to convince them to sell or get rid of that property when they're dealing with
or to love their
grief
siblings. And
we kind of like breeze into commercial as saying like, okay, cool, so you're doing commercial now. That's a big change. You are someone who figured out like the vacant land wholesaling, which is a bit more complicated, again, in my opinion, than just typical property wholesaling. And then now you're going to commercial, which is, in my opinion, a bit more complicated than residential. Now, I know if you have years in commercial, they're going to be like, it's not, you know. I think once you have it figured out, it's not that complicated.
Right, yeah.
A lot of people will start in residential and they'll never make the jump to commercial when they're perfectly capable of doing that because it's different. And again, maybe I shouldn't say more complicated, it's just different. When you're in the residential world, it feels like just an insanely different planet over here. Once you start looking at the numbers and evaluating and everything like that, how did you learn to make that jump into commercial? Like, what kind of relationships did you build? What did you study? What were you listening to, et cetera?
So a lot of it, again, was podcasts and articles and stuff. Being on the board eventually with the Builder Association and having those relationships, we've got developers and stuff in there. We've got Ryan Homes in there, Tricor, these big land development companies, and so I was hearing all the terminology, as hanging out with those people. I would just run deals all the time, just run numbers. I guess that's kind of how I look at different asset classes. I don't really worry so much about the asset class. I'll run the numbers on that deal. If I don't know what terms or numbers there are there, I'll find someone that does and get them to explain it to me, or I'll go do my own research, probably both. But that's kind of how I've gotten into it. That's what I tell people to do, even when they're trying to flip or buy and hold invest. I'll tell them to just pick your neighborhood where you're going to invest. Just go run numbers on all those houses in there. That way, when a good deal does come along, you'll know what it looks like.